I have been waiting so long to talk about this. I am a freak when it comes to stuff like this. Welcome back to the channel. I am the Pumpkinator, and today we're going to be covering all-negro. I can't say that, because today we're covering ANC. So if you've seen my Mouse Up Media video, you might remember that I mentioned the first ever black superhero, Lion Man. And he was one of many stories in ANC. Created by Orrin Cromwell Evans in 1947, ANC really shook up the scene. It was the first comic company to ever been written, drawn, and published by black folk. Evans was the first black writer for general assignments for a mainstream newspaper in the US when he joined Philadelphia Records. But when the record closed, he wanted to use comic books to show better representation for black people. He was part of the NAACP, and he was pretty frustrated by all the caricatures of us that were pretty common to find in comics these days. You know the ones, Mr. Popo looking type shit. So he recruited Harry T. Saylor and Bill Driscoll to create ANC to counter that problem, and they made Orrin president. In mid-1947, they came out with one 48-page issue, and they sold it for around 50 cents. For reference, other comics at that time were sold for about like 10 cents. So this one was for the big spenders. Now that's just how the comic was made, but what about the content in it? Well, why don't we take a look-see, shall we? Let's take a look at the first story of Ace Harlem. Ace Harlem is a no-nonsense detective, and he's investigating a robbery that took place at a local diner. Yes, see? They took all the money and killed the owner, who was a family guy, see? Which is a shame, because his daughter discovered his strangled, lifeless corpse, yes, see? Ace questions the daughter and asks her if she's seen anything, but all she saw was two zoot suiters running out lickety-split, and the robbers decided to play a little ditty on the jukebox, which Harlem is able to pull the fingerprint off of.
Gosh golly, he's so good at what he does.
Then he finds a little key and tells the daughter to be ready to be a witness. He follows up with that fingerprint lead, but it ends up being diddly squat. So he goes to a man that can help him with that key charm key. That man is Ali Ben Man, and he's the shopkeeper around these parts. Harlem questions him and he tells him that he sold it to some boys from the Jackson Bowden house. He knows because they paid with a $2 bill, see? We then cut to those dastardly heap cats who decided it's time to count their money. But they soon realize that they lost their lucky charm, and their days are now numbered.
And of course they are, because Ace Harlem is on the case.
Well, Liz doesn't like that his partner's getting scared yellow, so he decides that it's time for him to start swimming with the fishes. After this, Ace Harlem comes on the scene where Lizard tries to ambush her, but Ace dodges with his freaking skills, causing Lizard to accidentally hang himself.
What the fuck you mean he hangs himself, bro? Yeah, saying?
And that's the end of the first story, which I really like. It's very reminiscent of like classic detective comics. My only gripe is that the bad guys just took care of themselves instead of like Ace actually being able to do anything about it. Like, come on, let my guy at least throw a punch, you know? But that's just the first story. Let's look at the next one. That is The Doodillies, featuring Drake.
Anita Maxwin.
This story is obviously geared towards children, if you couldn't tell from the art and like, you know, the kids. I don't know why they're naked though, that sets me off a little bit. But basically it's about Bubbles and Bibber, who are doodillies. Creatures that reside in the same world as us, but only small children are able to see them. They basically like chill out and eat snacks and shit. Living a life, you know? Not too much story here. The next story after this one is Ezekiel's Manhunt, which is a text story about 14-year-old Ezekiel and his little brother who got kidnapped by a criminal known as the Grifter. The Grifter is able to keep them captive until Ezekiel is able to outsmart him using his street smarts. Then he brings the cops and he gets them arrested. And honestly, it's a pretty cool story, and I thought it was worth a mention, even though it's literally like, it's not really like a comic. It gives off like Black Phone vibes if you read that. The next story is the character that started this entire video off, Lion Man. Lion Man is an African-born, college-educated scientist sent by the United Nations to watch over the Magic Mountain. No! Where the largest uranium deposit is in the world, because they don't want another big boom, if you catch my drift. A bomb. A nuclear bomb. So he's here to report about any nation that tries to take it and to stop them. But when Lion Man takes a little nap, his adopted son, Bubba, lights a fire on his foot, waking him up. He chases him down where he sees evidence that other people have been there. He goes to his lab and checks the radar where he finds 2 new people in the land. He tells Bubba to stay put and goes after them. But Bubba's got other plans because he wants to help. But he falls into a random pitfall. What the fuck? What is this, Animal Crossing? Which alerts the bad guys. They stumble upon him and pull him out, all while Lion Man discovers them from the bushes. He makes himself known and he tells them to get the heck out of there. But they pull a knife out on him and take him hostage. They start walking back to Lion Man's lab, but Bubba sneaks away. But then Lion Man trips the henchman Brozer. The big boss is about to shoot Lion Man, but then he just hawks Brozer into him and punches him good. They tussle for a bit, but Lion Man ultimately comes out on top. When the other one comes to, Lion Man grabs a gun and starts to lead them back to the UN. But Bubba decides that he wants blood because he grabs a machine gun and unloads it on them. Turns out Bubba is a YN. Bubba kills Brozer, and Big Boss and Lion Man dodge the fire, which allows for the boss to escape. Lion Man is like, why the fuck don't I just feed you to the lion? Bubba's like, I don't know. And the boss gets away and sinks back to his undisclosed bad guy nation from the 40s. And that was Lion Man, and I gotta say, my brain can finally rest because I finally did what I said I was gonna do. And I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of you, Marcus!
You're welcome, Mother Marcus.
This story again gives a classic like comic vibe, but I don't know about Bubba, dog. He almost just straight killed his adopted father. And the last story that's in this book is Sugarfoot. Sugarfoot and his friend Snake Oil are train hoppers, and they hopped out of a train and into a river. When they get to shore, they stumble upon a farmer who they hope will give them some grub. When they approach him, he asks these tramps what they want, but they say chill cause they're allies. They tell him they're musicians and play him a little ditty, and he invites him over to his home. Inside, they meet his daughter Ample May, who is kind of dumb. They try to flirt with her, but she's too dumb to understand. They all have a great meal and they all start to relax. But the farmer tells them to start playing that tune. Sugarfoot starts to dance with Ample and crushes the farmer's foot. Twice. Which leads to the two of them getting kicked out. And they're back on the road again. And that's how that story ends. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of like classic Archie comics. If Archie was a womanizer, well, he is a womanizer. If Archie was, I guess, like a musical train hopper. But as stated before, that is where the issue ends. And I gotta say, it's pretty fun. All the different stories are very distinct and a product of their time. Each character had character, you know, and to be honest, it was fun to read this part of comic history. Now that was just issue 1, so you're probably thinking, what happened to issue 2? Well, Evans wasn't able to publish a second issue because he wasn't able to purchase a newspaper print. They're also being blocked from doing so from racist distributors and competing white-owned publishers at the time, companies like Fawcett Comics and Parent Magazine Press. So they were only able to make one. But that does not mean that they were forgotten, because in 2022, they celebrated their 75th anniversary. And they made a 75th anniversary reprint so that the memory could live on, which I honestly think is pretty cool and well needed. But that's what I thought about this publication. I would love to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If there's anything else that you guys want me to cover, let me know down there as well. And hey, if you want to help my channel out, maybe hype up this video. If you haven't seen the Milestone Media video, I'll put that at the end here. And maybe like a random one too. Let's roll the dice, right? And like and subscribe so I can feel a crumb of validation. But I'll see you guys in the next one. And make sure you tell your family that you love them. Bye-bye now! God, man, I wish I was Lion Man. If I gave him a little lion roar. Was that funny or not?